I hate both of you.
Love it. Anyway, okay. Are you ready?
Mama made me mash my M&Ms.
Me,
Come on.
me, my, moo, moo. Wait a minute, we should be doing the good one. What is
La 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 la. Like Sister Act. La 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 la.
God, I love it. Welcome to One Foot on the Ground. My co-host here is Ashley.
That's me, and I'm with Johnny.
And I've aged tremendously
I mean,
since our last recording.
just a couple days.
Yeah, exactly. And today we are going to discuss the brilliant work of cinematic wonder that we call the Little... Wait a minute, is it The Little Shop of Horrors or just Little Shop of Horrors?
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little.
1986.
Which, we're going to get into that.
Oh. Well, yeah, that's
We're going to get into all the things.
Yeah, that's why we set up this meeting.
Exactly. Also, I'm hoping that you have tons of factoid information about this film because I want to know things and I didn't look it up.
Why?
Well, because I figured you would know.
God
because it's
damn it, John!
One of your favorite films.
It is one of my favorite films, but it can be one of my favorite films without little facts.
Really?
You know what I was trying to think today? Yeah, sure. I was trying to recall the first time I saw this movie, and I do not remember.
I don't
Do you
either.
remember the first time you saw it?
No. I do know that I didn't watch it like everybody else, like when it came out and all that kind of hoopla. And I think we've mentioned on an episode, maybe I just texted you about it, I can't remember. Jason was rewatching, well, not rewatching, I don't think he'd ever seen it before, but he was watching the show Head of the Class, which was on in like the 80s and 90s, I think. And in one of their episodes, they do a performance of Little Shop of Horrors for their school. And it's crazy because they do quite a lot of it in that episode. So that was my introduction to that, was seeing it on that show. And then I was like, ooh, I want to see that or whatever. But I don't remember when I actually watched. It was probably when I worked at Hollywood Video. And I just took it home one day. And that was in, 1999, I think? So it was somewhere around there, probably.
I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I remember loving it. And I still love it. But I remember the first time I made my friend Robin watch it. Because I used to make her watch scary movies all the time. And she hates scary movies. And Little Shop of Horrors is a bit more on the lighter side of like a horror film.
Yeah.
But she, like, I would be like, it's not scary about any movie. And she'd be like, they're all scary. And I remember this one did give her nightmares.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, Audrey too is kind of frightening, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
He's a mean green mother from outer space.
Whoa. Yeah. So, for the kids out there who don't know what this movie is or why we're talking about it, it's a film. It's a music. Well, oh my God, there's so many things here. It is a musical film adaptation of a Broadway musical. Well, actually, I think it was off Broadway.
It's off Broadway. It was never on Broadway, which means it never qualified for a Tony.
Aw, that's mean.
But it made the most money out of any off Broadway.
Good for
performance.
Because it should.
Yeah.
But off Broadway musical version of a film that was originally by what is that guy's name? Cult classic dude.
Robert. Oh no.
Shit.
Hold on.
Corman. Roger Corman. Right?
Yeah. Yes, that sounds
I
right.
believe Jack Nicholson was in it, wasn't he? Was he Seymour?
Yeah. No, It was Jack Nicholson's film debut. It's Roger Corman.
Roger Corman. Okay.
That directed it. And no, Jack Nicholson was the role of the
dentist?
same role that Bill Murray played.
The sadist, or not sadist, the fetish.
Yeah, the one who was like fetishizing the sadistic dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who Jack Nicholson played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, the story is a store owner has issues getting people into their building to purchase their items.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick Moranis just happened to have purchased this plant, which they go into a whole song about how it magically appeared at this place that he went and got plants all the time. And then he brought it into the shop. It became popular. Everybody wanted to see it. And it grew, and it consumed blood, lots of Rick Moranis' blood. And it grew, and then he realized, oh shit, this thing wants other things. So he had to feed it like a human. So he did. It got bigger, and it took over, and it was crazy. And things happened. So
yeah. So basically, Seymour.
This is why you do the
found
synopsis.
I like to rock a nice, smooth, like one sentence synopsis. Yeah, Seymour has a strange and interesting plant that showed up during an eclipse, and it starts to gain popularity, which gains more money, which Seymour starts to gain the sight of the very lovely Audrey, who he named the plant after.
Yes, Audrey 2 is named after Audrey.
Yeah, but his fame and fortune comes at a cost, and that cost is human blood. So he has to choose between sacrificing people to the plant to keep Audrey, or to throw it all away to, I don't know, not be a dick, to save humanity.
Yeah. So, a few things here. The cast. This film has such a fantastic cast. Ellen Greene, I fucking love her. I wish that she was in more things, but she's kind of not. Like, why not?
She was in that one show, Pushing Daisies, wasn't she?
Exactly. She was in that one show that nobody watched. And I have to say, when I saw her on Pushing Daisies, I was fucking thrilled. And she got to sing. And I was like, oh, yes, thank you.
Of course she did.
Of course she did, thank God. And she ended up singing, in Pushing Daisies, she ended up singing one of my favorite songs by They Might Be Giants, Birdhouse in Your Soul, which I was like, are you fucking kidding me that she is singing this song right now? And of course I got the soundtrack immediately. Because I had to have that.
Why wouldn't you?
What else was I going to say? The shop owner, Rick Moranis' boss,
Mr. Mushanik.
Yes, he was played by a familiar actor for the footsies out here, because if you watch Moonstruck with us, he played Cher's dad in Moonstruck. And I was super excited about that. Who are the other people?
Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops.
Oh, yes,
he was the
he's
voice
Audrey,
of Audrey
too.
Rick Moranis,
Well, of course,
America's
Rick Moranis. Sweetheart. What happened to him? Come out
He
of the
left-
woodwork, dude.
He left filmmaking. He left acting when his wife died, so that he could take
Yes.
care of his kids.
Yes, I do remember that. Noble cause, so it's fine. But I wish you would come back. Your kids are probably grown.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be funny if they weren't?
They just
That would be a movie.
It's a real Honey I Shrunk the Kids situation.
You know, okay, I want to get into that. And I want to get into that via this particular movie. Because I was thinking while I was watching this movie that they should really remake Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. with all
Why?
Because with all the like modern technology and computer graphics that are very realistic these days, I think that particular movie would benefit from it. Because rewatching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is like, oh god, that's a big prop that you made that doesn't look like a broom, you know. It's like, yeah, stuff like that. But going back to this film,
Wait.
with
Pause.
this. Pause. Okay.
Pause. Because I want to keep on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Do you remember, does it still exist? Sorry. In one of the Disney theme parks in Florida.
Oh no,
Is it
it's
Animal
gone.
Kingdom? It's
No,
gone?
it was in what is now Hollywood Studios. And actually it might have been repurposed. I know what you're talking about. It's the where they have Honey, I Shrunk
like-
the Kids, where you can walk around the
Yeah, you
gigantic
feel like you're
props.
shrunk. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're amongst all the big things.
which I think some of those were originally props from the film.
Incredible. I
Not
loved
even
it.
kidding, because that's where they would have dumped them. Is right there.
Yeah, like what else are they going to do with them?
Exactly. No, I believe it's gone because I think I'm trying to think of the map. That park is very confusing, even back in the day, because it has
When
like,
it was
weird,
MGM?
Yeah, like because they originally built it to look like Mickey Mouse's silhouette from the air.
Yes.
And then when they expanded on it, it just got weird looking. Like one of his ears kind of got fucked up. Now it doesn't look much like it. But what happened was I want to say where the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids section got torn out for maybe Toy Story Land, or it's either that or it was torn out for Star Wars. I can't remember. It was one of those two, but I believe it's gone. I'm pretty sure it's gone.
Man, bummer.
Because it was in that weird spot where it's like you're coming off of where Toy Story the ride is still.
Mhm.
Like behind Grauman's Chinese theater. It's like, and then you come around and there's that weird spot where it's like a dead zone. I don't know. It's a weird park. It's not it's not designed very friendly for walking around and knowing where you are. Which I'm usually good at that. And that park's always like, wait a minute, we gotta go back this way after we've already gone this way, and so we can see this other thing. And like the Muppets 3D is like tucked back there somewhere that was awkward. Hopefully
Yeah,
that's
it
still
looks
there. I don't know.
like it looks like it's Galaxy's Edge now.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, the big Oreo though. I remember that.
Well, that's another thing about
Or not an Oreo. It's a moon pie.
oatmeal
or
cream
something.
pie.
Yeah.
No joke. So, and I was just about to bring this up. My mom loved that movie, but she was terrified that we would get shrunk and get lost in the backyard. So she would constantly buy those oatmeal cream pies just in case, so that if we did shrink, she would throw them out in the yard so we'd have something to eat.
What?
And to this day, oh my god, I love those things.
She could just buy them in the event of.
She had to have them on hand just in case.
like you show up late because you know you missed your first movie start time and you're going to go see the next one, and so now you're running late getting home. You're getting home a little late and your mom's out there throwing oatmeal cream pies into the yard. Oh, I hope my Johnny finds a warm place tonight.
I hope he's a friendly aunt. So, So yeah, but so are we done with Honey I Shrunk the Kids?
Yeah, we
'Cause I
could
wanna
go back to Little Shop.
So I wanted to say, I remember watching this. I don't know when I bought it on Blu-ray, whenever that was, when it came out on Blu-ray for the first time. Super exciting. And we'll talk about the director's cut at some point. But anyway, my biggest thing was how impressed I was with Audrey 2. And I watched it the other day and had the exact same astonishment.
I did the
could
same
not
thing.
believe that this was from 1986 and it is a puppet. Like, how the fuck did they do that? How did they do that? I don't know how they did that. It is spectacular.
I can tell you.
Please,
Well,
because that was going to be my
facts about this
question for
movie.
you about.
I was just being a butthole.
I was because I kept thinking, like, first of all, it had to have been the most elaborately choreographed bunch of people to have to do this, because the articulation with everything about this puppet, everything, and you don't see strings, you don't see hands, you don't see stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's astronomical to me how much work went into doing this.
Just even because every part of Audrey, it like has life in it. Like, but I was most
even the
impressed,
leaves,
the lips,
the leaves curl and shit. Like, it's not just like they're like dancing around because the thing's moving. It's like they're actually articulating. It's not just lame
and
movement.
They're all like individually like hand painted, and like just like such care was brought into like building. Yeah, it took 60 puppeteers, and there's what 6 or 7 puppet stages as Audrey grows.
Yeah, because that's another impressive thing is that there's like
there's
multiple versions of Audrey. Like, God, and then you'd have to remember which size it had to be for which scene. I don't know. That's just a lot. Thank God I didn't make this movie, because it just seemed like I would never have survived.
So they had, for the largest version, for the final form of Audrey, they had 60 puppeteers.
How many?
Like 60. Like, just people like moving all the bits around. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that version had the little Audrey buds that were like like singing on it.
And it's singing.
Yeah.
Like,
but in order to make it look so good, they had to record Audrey at 12 frames a second. And then speed it up to 24 frames.
Oh, wow.
So anybody performing with Audrey, especially like a singing role, which is Rick Moranis. Like, that's
because Rick
Moranis the whole movie. Yeah, but Rick and Audrey too have like duets.
Yeah.
So like everyone had to perform at half speed to get it right. Yeah, but they pulled it off. Like, it worked.
It still works. You put that thing on 2021, and it is insane how impressive that is. I have to say, this is what I was going to say, though, about bringing up Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and that whole thing. Like, that would benefit from modern technology, but I don't think that having this film made in 2021, like if they did a remake of it, I'd be upset. Because I don't think they should, for one. But I also don't think that they should lessen the craft of those people that did that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is impressive even today. And that was 1986. Yes. So, I mean, geez Louise, no wonder Frank got the job doing Yoda. I mean, come on. Well, that was before that, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Actually, Yoda probably got him the job doing this, but
they're like, bring us the Yoda guy.
Bring us that Yoda guy.
Yeah. I remember when I was rewatching this for this episode, I was just smiling because it was like I'm still impressed. It was like I'm like, oh yeah, of course I still love this movie. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's wonderful. It's perfect. Love it.
Well, it's also because I remember back, I don't know, maybe the first few times I've seen it, I didn't really care for the whole Steve Martin section of it. But
Yes.
because Steve Martin plays the dentist, the sadistic dentist that beats Audrey, Ellen Green, which is
Yeah.
awful.
It really is. And
it really
he's
is.
just, what does he say? He's like, gotta keep him trained or something. Like when he's talking to Seymour versus when he's talking to Audrey, he's like, "Oh hey, you're the plant
Oh
guy."
yeah.
And like, but then he like yells at Audrey and like makes her call him doctor. Like, ugh.
Ugh, it's just gross. Poor Audrey.
Yeah.
Or poor Ellen Green. I love when she shows up.
I
I
also
love when she shows up with the sling, but it's like this lacy sling that's made out of the same fabric for her dress or whatever. It's like beautifully matching and delicate.
yes.
Just holding her dainty arm. Steve Martin, horrible douchebag. Bill Murray comes.
Yeah. I hated him at first when I first saw it the first few couple times. I hated the song because I didn't want to hear about poisoning guppies. But I don't know. I think now I can
In
handle
retrospect, yeah, like when I watched it this time, I was actually engaged for the entire movie. Whereas before, I would have been like
Right.
bored at that point. But I was like, oh, okay, I like this. Bill Murray comes in as, of course, we've mentioned that. He comes in as the guy who wants to be tortured by the dentist, and the dentist doesn't like it, which kind of brings me to a theory that It always had about attackers, especially rapists. I feel like if you just went with it and was like, yeah, come on, take out your dick, let's do this. Like, I feel like they would probably not like that and go away. Well, maybe if it's a man. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like a man trying to rape me. I always felt that that's what I would do. But of course, if it's a lady, I don't know. They might feel differently and just do it anyway. I don't know. So please don't anybody take that advice. But I just thought maybe for me it would work.
I remember a story about a dude who raped a woman, but like halfway through she pretended like she was into it, or maybe afterwards she pretended like she was into it, and she asked him for his number and then had him arrested.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, she was like, this fucking guy. But to have that composure,
Oh, yeah.
to like be like, thanks dog, can we do it again sometime? And the guy being like,
Yeah, sure.
okay,
Why not?
that works out in my favor.
I can finally get laid. Like for reals.
Yeah,
Without being a
like
complete horrible
if that-
monster. You know, he probably could have done it
yeah,
anyway.
but then you have to wonder about like, I don't know, because like I would think that it's a power.
Yeah, I
thing,
don't
you know?
understand. I just don't understand that in general, but so who knows what it is. But
Right.
Anyway, back to the film at hand. So I'm trying to mention all the guest spots here.
Oh, well, you passed over Christopher Guest.
Oh yeah, Christopher Guest. Yeah, he was
strolled-
the first customer
Yeah,
that
he was
noticed
the first-
Audrey and was like, "Oh my God, your plant is amazing.
Yeah.
Let me buy."
Yeah, what a
12
strange
roses.
and interesting plant.
Yeah, Christopher Guest. And then of course, radio DJ was John Candy. And then later, was it? I'm always bad with this. Is it James Belushi or
John Belushi.
I
Oh,
can't remember if
wait.
it's James or John.
Oh, now
Jim.
I thought it was.
Which one?
Well, James
Oh,
is
okay.
Jim Belushi.
Now, is he the one that's still with us or the one that passed away? I can't remember.
The one that's in the movie is the one that is
Still
still
with us,
with
okay.
us. And-
Oh, okay.
yeah.
The other one, I have him in my head now. I can see him. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the one that's with us, you're right. It was Jim Belushi.
Okay. Of course, Ellen Green we've already talked about. Tisha Campbell, she plays one of the girls that sings the trio.
Love her.
Oh, I love them.
One of the Greek
Love it.
chorus.
Oh, and I was going to mention this musical was written by the
Mm-hmm.
dude who also wrote The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and
The dudes who did the music, Howard Ashman and
what is the other guy's name? Alan Menken
uh,
or something like that?
yeah. They did like Aladdin
Yes,
and
Aladdin was one
such.
of them. Thank you. I
Little
couldn't think of the
Mermaid.
third. Now, the reason I looked them up, though, I mean, I recognize the names for sure. And I was like, well, I know they did Disney, but I couldn't remember which ones. And I was kind of hoping that they did Hercules, but they did not. Right?
No, because of the
Yeah,
Greek
because I was like,
chorus.
oh, this is so Hercules in a good way.
And the members of the Greek chorus, which we only mentioned
Tisha Campbell.
Tisha Campbell, Tashina Arnold, and Michelle Weeks were the other two. But they were in the film named Chiffron, Ronette, and Crystal, which are names of 50s and 60s girl groups.
I love it. So yeah, it's a great musical in general, for one thing. Don't know how this would have looked on stage at all. I don't know how they could pull that off. But Audrey. So Audrey 2, we already mentioned he was played by, what's his name? What's his first?
Levi Stubbs.
Yeah.
He has the same last
I know,
name.
but I'm bad with first names. So what was I going to say? Oh, like at some point during this, and I can't remember what part it was, but it was towards the end of the movie. All I could think was, did anybody ask Nina Simone if she wanted to do this? Because
you are always going back to
she's
Nina
fucking
Simone.
amazing. But no joke, I think Nina Simone would have been an excellent Audrey too, because she would have had, because technically Audrey 2 is I guess male. I don't know, but I would have loved the idea that Audrey 2 was named after Audrey, so therefore sort of female, but to give Audrey 2 the voice of Nina Simone would have been kind of spectacular, because Nina doesn't sound typically feminine, but she's a woman. And I don't know. I just thought that would have been a spectacular idea. And I don't know. Maybe they did ask her and she said no. That's what I'd like to believe.
Audrey, plants are, I don't know about space plants, but plants in general are typically asexual.
Oh, yeah, because they have they
like pollinate themselves, yeah. They got all those tubes.
Beautifully articulated tubes.
Yeah.
By puppeteers. Mm-hmm. Puppeteer tubes.
Yeah. They do. Yes, sir. I
No, he was great.
Levi
I don't want to
Stubbs.
diminish
his
performance.
His voice. It's just like he was just. It was. I like the off-putting bit, like how when Audrey speaks, it's like such a deep, like male voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, "Feed me."
Well, it kind of reminded me. I think the reason
I like.
I
that
think the reason
contrast.
Nina came across in my head was, besides her voice in general, just would have been great. But she did a song. I can't remember who it was with, but she did a song called "Fast Food," and it's about how horrible fast food is, and it was in the 80s. And all I could think was, like, it kind of reminds me of Audrey too, like that. I feel like I want food fast. I want fast food. Like, it was great. It would have been great. But no, he did a wonderful job. And obviously, I don't think it works. But, fantasy, Nina Simone. Fantasy version.
Yeah.
By John.
All right. So, speaking of fantasy, there's a sequence. All right. When I watched this, I watched it streaming on HBO. I didn't go out and
Oh
get my
yeah, me
disc or anything
too.
like that. I was like, I'm going to hit play. And one, the what I listen to the soundtrack a fair deal. You know, it's like one of the soundtracks I always go
Oops,
back to.
sorry.
And I noticed that, I mean, we've discussed the differences. Like, I enjoy soundtracks that are just the songs and they cut out the talking bits and the movie bits, whereas you enjoy soundtracks that are as is, as you saw it in the movie, right? Generally speaking. Uh, and I know that I had mentioned Little Shop of Horrors like cut down a great deal, but it still had the talking bits that were necessary to like move the song along. Um, but I realized that the lyrics are also different in the movie. And I was like, oh yeah. Like it's just like it's like a different cut, you know, like I can't remember the lyrics right now. But also while I was watching this movie, there was an entire song, or entire sequence that I remember seeing that wasn't in it, and I thought I was going crazy, but I guess it's just a cut sequence that like just didn't make it to the final product, and maybe I had watched it like on the special features or something. But it was the Meek Shall Inherit, where like they do part of the song, but then in the expanded version, like Seymour sings and he talks about like, I take these offers, that means more killing. Who knew success would come with messy, nasty things? And it's him like being approached by all these people with a bunch of deals, and him being like, absolutely not, until he like realizes that like, you know, maybe if he didn't do it, like things wouldn't be so great with Audrey. And so he's like, where do I sign at the end of it? And that's one of my favorite songs. And it skipped over, and I was like, wait a minute now. Changing a lyric or two, totally fine, totally get that, but the whole song is gone. But I was just being
You know,
ridiculous because it was never there. It was just
you
the
know,
special
I think,
features.
and I don't know if we've talked about this before. I can't remember. It doesn't matter because nobody will remember. Um, I've talked about it before. Like, I don't understand a lot of the times when they change lyrics when they go from a Broadway show to a film, or, or those damn Disney live action remakes where they slightly change words and it's like, why? What was the point of that? Like, I don't understand it. And it's so, it's like, and I don't know how to explain. My biggest example has always been Nine. When they changed lyrics in Nine, the musical, and when they made it into a film, which, I mean, they cut, I would say, what, 85% of the songs out when they made the movie? Because that is like a full-on musical with
Mm-hmm.
very little dialogue. And all of a sudden they have like, what, 8 songs? It's like, that's not how this works, but whatever. Um,
Well, sometimes like things like that, because this one also cut songs from
Now,
the
cutting
off
songs
Broadway
is one
musical.
thing,
But it's
but
like for
changing
time.
odd lyrics doesn't make sense to me. Like, there was, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was one lyric specifically that bothered me so bad in Nine, where it used to say something logical, and then when they made the film, they changed it to like Michelangelo painting his dome or something like that. And I was like, okay, first of all, you changed this lyric for literally no reason. I have no idea why. And then you changed it to a lyric that literally makes no sense. Michelangelo never painted a dome. He painted a vaulted ceiling. He never painted a dome.
John, you and correcting people
Well,
on
I mean, hello. He
Michelangelo.
designed a dome. Like, he designed the dome of St. Peter's. and then he designed it so beautifully that they couldn't alter it after he passed away. But he never painted a damn dome, and it just pisses me off. And I was like, what was wrong with the original lyric? Nothing. It makes no sense.
Well, I would guess. So what I would guess is that when I was watching the film versus to like the soundtrack I just assumed that there were multiple versions of the same song and that one cut of the song made it into the film, whereas the other cut made it to the soundtrack. You know what I mean?
It's still kind of weird.
So like it wasn't like it was ever like one way. It was just the way that worked for whatever medium. Now, when people are redoing a thing, I don't know if it follows the same guidelines, that like maybe they choose a different version with a different line, or if there could be like
I really want to
multiple
know
reasons, I suppose, for it, or maybe they just want to make it theirs. You know what I mean?
But not
like you're such a purist.
To like, I don't know how to explain it, especially with the Disney ones. Now, we have gone over this many times where they're not for us.
They're not for
you. We grew up with the originals, so we're going to stick with those as our favorites. And the new generations will like these, and that's fine. But it kind of bothers me, especially when it's a musical situation, that you're already used to singing this particular version of this musical. And like I said, it's not technically for us. But at the same time, it's just awkward. It's like when it's like you're in your moment. You're just like Belle, the first song in Beauty and the Beast, when she comes out and, quiet village every day like the one before. Little town full of little people. Like that whole thing.
Yeah.
You know the fucking words. You know what she's going to say. And then all of a sudden they're saying something else. And you're like, wait a minute. What? No. What? What are you talking about?
John, you don't want to shot for shot remake either, though.
Well, the only one that they didn't was like Cinderella.
John, you
or
can't
Maleficent,
have a shot for shot
fantastic.
remake and make people happy. And you can't do something that doesn't honor like the original and be happy. Actually, something I really like about
but if the lyrics don't need to change, you don't need to change them. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but you do. You do. Otherwise, it's not an original adaptation. So this movie is an adaptation of an off-Broadway musical of a 1960 film. That was like a joke. That film from 1960 was filmed in 2 days. It was a bet. Some dude, what's his name? Had finished shooting a film and the set was still up. And he was discussing it with Roger Corman, and Roger Corman was like, "Hey, let me shoot something on it." And he was like, "Okay, how long do you need?" And he's like, "I don't know, like a week or something. I'm gonna make a film. I'm gonna use it for 2 days." And he's like, "What are you gonna shoot? You can't shoot a movie in 2 days." And he's like, "Watch me." And I think maybe it took a week or like a Monday through Thursday for rehearsals, and then they filmed it in 2 days after. But yeah, Corman sat down with whoever he wrote it with. And I know they did another campy horror film together, and I can't remember either of the names. But they, Charles B. Griffith, they did, they wrote it in a day, and it was just like whatever.
No,
but when have
not.
you seen
No
the one
interest.
from the 60s? It's all right. It's all right. It's not like great, but it is like like a campy like cult classic, and they the way this movie plays out, it's like nothing like it, but also just like it. You know what I mean? Like it honors a lot of the original, almost the way Reefer Madness, the movie musical, did. Because Reefer Madness, the movie musical, is based on Tell Your Children.
That's kind of what I was telling you about.
And so
with 9, that adaptation, because the musical is way too complicated. I think it works for the stage. And when they made it into the film,
Right.
they took the songs that would make sense to make a remake of 8.5, which is what inspired 9, the musical. So it kind of made sense. I mean, and it technically worked. I don't think anybody really cared, except for me. Because I don't think anybody ever expected it to be made into a film anyway. So when they did, it was like, okay, well, this works. But, and I understand change. I really do. I do understand changes for certain things. Like in Aladdin, the original lyrics were changed for, I think, the first song because, or no, maybe it was, no. I think it was Will Smith's first song, the Never Had a Friend Like You, or whatever that song's called. Horrible that I don't remember that. Yeah, he was the
Did you
genie.
just say Will Smith?
That's his name, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
Oh,
I
no,
was
no, no.
thinking of the original.
No, they
I
changed.
was like,
They
that was
changed
not Will
lyrics
Smith.
in. No, they
That was
changed
Robin
lyrics in the first song.
Williams.
Whatever. They changed lyrics, but in the one song that they did change lyrics, I kind of got it because if you were paying attention correctly in the live action, for some reason, they never mentioned Aladdin's name, so he didn't say it or something in the song until a certain point. I can't remember what it was, but it was like there was a reason that they changed those lyrics. I was like, oh, okay, well they did that. And when I heard it on the soundtrack originally, I was like, well, why'd they change it? And then when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, that's why they changed it. Okay. But so things like that, or like Beauty and the Beast, there were some changes in some of the lyrics for that too that made sense for what they did in the live action. But it's like the ones that didn't make sense are the passing lyrics, where it's like, why did you change something that was so insignificant it didn't matter? So you could have just kept it the way it was. What's the difference? Like that Michelangelo thing in the 9, it made no sense.
Well, if it was so insignificant, then it
Well,
has the privilege of being
insignificant
changed.
in the fact that it didn't. What am I saying? It didn't add anything.
It didn't add
take away
anything to the new
technically.
production.
But it's like, but why do it if it made no, like who is, that would be my thing. Who said, hey, this one lyric right here where she says like bug, I wanted to say bee. Like who thought of that? Why I mean that's not not lyric. That's not a lyric.
Well, what I enjoy about Little Shop and Reefer Madness, the movie musical, is how they keep the same heart, and you can tell that they like love and respect the originals and all the nods that they throw in, even though it's not necessarily necessary for the story. Like, for example, in the 1960 Little Shop of Horrors, there was there was a person who was constantly ordering flowers. She was a regular flower buyer, but it was because they were always for funerals because her family members were dropping like flies. And when, it's just like, we don't need that, but like it just pops in the 1986 version, just like as like a small little nod, like, yeah, we remembered that happened. Like, we watched it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And same for Reefer Madness. Like, and that was a wildly different movie. I mean, they're both wildly different movies from their original counterparts. But, they still like throw things in there to kind of be like, yeah, it's the same but different. Don't you worry. You have trouble when you just change a little bit. And it's like you're trying to not leave a safe space, and it really doesn't work out. But I will stand by, like, the remakes are not for us of those Disney movies in particular, though I do think they could have just gone in an entirely different direction and still have been successful with the new demographic, but the old demographic as well. I think they would have had a higher chance instead of trying to keep the old demographic by keeping it nostalgic enough, but not completely, you know? And I've seen parts. I saw Beauty and the Beast. It was okay. I wasn't super impressed by it.
The movie, the live action?
Yeah. Yeah, the one with I mean, it doesn't even matter. But I did not watch Aladdin or Lion King or
Oh God, I watched maybe.
Oh, I watched Mulan. But I was looking for because I knew Mulan didn't have the songs and I was like, yes.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
because it's going to have to be different, but it's also like they're all based on other stories. It's not like Disney even made original content. Like it wasn't wholly original. They're still like based on Grimm fairy tales. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think the early Disney ones were exciting because they took those familiar fairy tales, they added to them in a good way, and made it kind of clever, sort. You know what I mean? And it worked. Now they're just kind of repeating themselves, but not in a good. Well, except for the Cinderella. Like I said, I was very weird about that one because I didn't want to see it, and then when I finally did, I was like, oh, that was actually good because it wasn't like the original. They did something interesting with it. They didn't make it just the same shit. I mean, not that Cinderella's shit because obviously I love it, but it gave it its own thing. They didn't use the song I would have preferred them using.
Of
In
course.
fact, I think they just cut all the songs out. If I'm remembering correctly, because I remember the soundtrack.
Except for the one, and you hated it that it was the one.
No. That's the thing. In the soundtrack, they do have Helena Bonham Carter singing "Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo," but she doesn't sing it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like they cut it out. So I think they just, if I can remember correctly, I think they just didn't do the songs at all. But they should have used "So This Is Love" because that wasn't even sung by Cinderella. Technically, it was just singing while they were dancing. Okay, so what was that noise?
What you
I
moving your
have
microphone?
the lyric.
Oh,
Sorry, I
Great.
think something happened
Great.
in my house.
so joyous to.
So you know what? You need to stop because it was going to drive me nuts. So in the original song, "My Husband Makes Movies," which is a goddamn beautiful song. She says, "My husband spins fantasies. He lives them. He gives them to you all." I'm saying that so badly because I'm trying not to sing it. When he was working on the film on ancient Rome, he made the slave girls take the gladiators home. That was the original lyric. So in the movie, they changed it. "My husband spins fantasies. He lives them, then gives them to you all. Like Michelangelo, he paints his private dome, but can't distinguish what's his work and what's his home."
They changed it because of the women part at the end.
Yeah, but I mean, now that you mention it, I kind of get why they changed it. But my issue is, and you're gonna love this, is that Michelangelo paints his private dome. What the fuck does that even mean? Besides the fact that, like I said, he never painted a dome. What is she talking about?
maybe his imagination. His private dome.
I don't know. That's just...
It's kind of like that change. All right, that change is very much like the Aladdin change from where they cut off their ear. Well, where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home.
Well, yeah, but that was changed in 1992.
Yeah,
they changed that for the original film.
Right, but it's like it's the same. It's the same idea though, where they're like, no. It's where it's hot and intense, and like the heat is immense, or something.
Where the heat is intense and you're something. It's barbaric, but hey, it's I can't remember exactly what it
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. But that's the whole point about him making movies that were so realistic that he had them act the way they would in ancient times. So I don't necessarily think that's. And besides, like I mentioned earlier, who the hell went and saw 9 except for people that knew what the hell it was? No one.
I mean, you also said that about the Charade remake.
Oh, God.
You thought that it was going to be other people who loved Audrey Hepburn, but it was just you in that audience. You were a
just
party
me.
of one.
It was just me. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it seemed like the screening people also thought it was going to be a bunch of people who loved the original Audrey Hepburn Charade, but
Maybe I
it
should have
wasn't.
been friendly with those people. At least they
Yeah,
knew what it was.
they were like, okay, so just this guy.
Just this one weird dude here. And at that time, how old was I back then? Probably like, I can't remember when it came out. Who
16.
cares? Huh?
I said 16, but probably 40.
Probably, yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, it was just a
It was
few
a-
short
a-
weeks ago.
A weird preview screening where it happened many years after. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I can understand your frustration with the lyric changes and the weirdness.
Oh, I wasn't
I was
frustrated.
also going to bring up
I just thought I
Hairspray.
was going crazy.
I was going to bring up
Hairspray.
Hairspray because with that, they did it differently too. I mean, except for the lyric changes I'll never understand. I mean, sort of. I'm not as forgiving about them because I don't understand why they do it sometimes when it doesn't make any sense. But like the Disney ones. Obviously, we understand why they changed the lyric in 9. But they still could have made it something more clever. Anyway, but what was I going to say? Oh, but like the performance in general, like, because Hairspray, they recorded the soundtrack and then they recorded them performing the songs live for the film. So the soundtrack version is not the version that you hear when you're watching
I like the
the film.
soundtrack version.
And I
of
prefer the
Hairspray.
soundtrack version, especially Michelle Pfeiffer. Because,
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
oh my God, it's the best. And she did not hit that high note in the damn movie. And it pissed me off because I love that. But it's fine. I mean, but you also got to see Michelle Pfeiffer, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I fucking love her. But anyway, so that was what I was going to say, is that maybe they did something like that where they had recorded it, but then changed it for the film because they were, performing it on set or something. I don't know. But I feel like with
Yeah, well,
this, it
when-
wouldn't make much sense to do it that way. Especially if you're doing a half speed for Audrey. Like, that wouldn't make much sense.
No, it would make. No, I think that would make sense.
To sing it live at half speed?
No, yeah, so that Rick Moranis can sync his mouth. So
No,
so
but
that,
I mean, but he's lip syncing to a track that they
recording.
slowed down.
right. So most movies record the tracks first, and then they like sing or lip sync or whatever over it while they're performing.
Well,
Usually.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it makes sense, but like because it was a huge deal when Les Mis recorded all the songs while they were filming,
Yeah.
and
Which, good for you. I couldn't get through that movie.
it was
couldn't.
long, and the only
Could
reason
not.
anybody showed up was for Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. Like, and that's honestly, saw her part, turned it off. It's like,
And her part's not big.
no,
I mean, don't get
she
me wrong.
dies.
She goes big. She
Oh yeah,
goes big. She's
she
the
did it.
whole thing,
She
but
did
I
the
don't
thing.
remember anybody else's story, like,
I
to be
could care less.
honest.
I don't care. Somebody stole some bread. Who gives a shit? Go build your ship somewhere else. Uh, I mean,
But yeah, but I
it
understand
wasn't
why.
it was impressive. I get it, but it's just it's kind of like Cats. We've talked about this. Like
Did we talk
Cats
about
is
Cats?
is a fascinating technical achievement, but it's a terrible musical. So why would you even
Oh,
want to do
whew.
it?
I thought you were talking about the film, and I was like, wait a minute. I saw that.
No.
I saw the version before they took out Judi Dench's rings.
Well, good for you. I don't know which one
No,
I saw
it was
because
like,
I fast forwarded through most of it.
did you really?
I did.
It was glorious. That is going to become some weird Rocky Horror Picture Show classic.
God,
Just
please
you
don't.
wait. People are going to be doing
No.
shadow performances of.
No. No. You know,
I
and
can't
that's the
remember
thing.
his name. I wish I could.
Exactly, because it doesn't make sense. No, I was going to say, because Cats, like, when I saw that they were making a musical of Cats into a film, I was like, okay, I can dig the special effects and the fun things and the sets, and it looks cool. But could you please, and this is one of the rare times I'll say this, could you please change some of that music? Because it is a shitty musical. It's like, ew. And why? It's just terrible. And the only song that anybody ever remembers, and probably for a reason, is called Memory. That's the best fucking song in the whole damn show. That's what you wait for.
Well, it's like, it's also like such a sad song because the whole musical, for anyone who hasn't seen Cats and doesn't know what it's about, it's really about nothing.
It's really about nothing. Don't even. Well, okay.
It's about the Jellicle cat, right? Or the Jellicle cat.
Oh God,
Yes.
that fucking song. I
Yeah,
swear to
the
God.
Jellicle cat
and
is-
I will say, the movie did cut that down. Thank God. Because they go on for like 20 minutes about Jellicle cat. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares.
Well-
By the end of that 20 minutes, you just want to not ever see the show. I would have walked out. I wouldn't
wanna
even
see-
gotten a memory.
I'm about to shit on the show, but I want to see the show. I'm about to shit on the movie, but I want to see the show. So, yeah, it's the Jellicle cat, and every cat we meet after Jellicle cat is singing about the type of cat they are, and that is the musical. A cat comes up, it talks about why it's like, you know, like a grumpy cat or like whatever,
Yeah.
or a boss cat, or the what are the other? There's like the Shimble cat or something, Rum Tum.
No, who
The Rum
cares?
Tum cat, like, yeah, and they all want to be the chosen
mean-
cat that dies for the queen cat for some reason. I don't know. They're just trying to
It's-
sacrifice themselves.
It's like, yeah, I can't remember exactly how it works, but there is a plot somewhere in there where something's happening. Like they're all trying to
They're like
the spot
peacocking
of- for Judi Dench,
yes.
for the coveted spot of going in a hot air balloon ride. I don't know. It's
they die. Whatever it is, they're sacrificing. They're sacrificing
I think maybe
themselves for something.
Are they sacrificing themselves to give her extra life to live longer? Is that what it is?
Oh.
Because she probably ran out of 9 lives a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, and she has to make the Jellicle choice and decide
Something
which
like
cat
that. Who gives a shit?
will go to like the heaven side lair.
But let me tell you something, people. Don't watch it.
No,
I
or
just-
watch it.
No, I think the problem with that one is that it was a dumb idea to begin with. Like,
No.
because it's based on actual, I want to say poems by I can't remember who, but they were already well-known poems about cats by this one guy. I can't remember who it was.
T.S. Eliot?
Yes, T.S. Eliot. And I mean, I've seen recordings of it, and all I could think was, ew, no, because I've already heard the horrible musical that somebody decided to do. So I know that it's like already a thing, and it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to alter it, but that's the whole thing. It's like, why did you even make a musical out of it to begin with? Because who cares?
For
Nobody
funsies.
cares. You could have just made a fun musical about cats that make that Jellicle choice or whatever the fuck it was without having the damn stupid songs.
No. See, I love how ridiculous it is. And you know what? And like, the same could be, they could have left alone Reefer Madness, but they didn't. They took Tell
No,
Your Children and they,
Look,
which was already bad. And then
Look.
they made it better by doing a musical. All you're saying is Cats tried to do the same thing and wasn't
Cats tried
successful.
and did not
It just
succeed.
wasn't good.
Did I tell you I got I bought what do you call it? Like a lot on eBay of like a bunch of records so I could specifically get the original 9 recording, Broadway cast recording, because Raul Julia is amazing, and so is everybody else. Anyway, because I wanted that particular one, and it was cheaper for me to buy this lot of dumbass records that had a whole bunch of other things in it, and some of it was fun, like Mana La Mancha, fine, Evita with Patti LuPone, perfectly fine,
I did the same for the ink spots. I bought a lot because the ink spots was there.
It had the highlights from Cats, and I was like, do I have to keep this one? Could I just tell them not to put it in the package?
Hilarious.
Ew. Nobody wants that shit. And Barbara Streisand sang Memory the best, so just go listen to that.
Oh, geez. Homegirl, what's her name? I thought she did well.
Well, I have to say, on that particular thing, like, Barbara was always going to be my go-to. But
course.
when I heard the soundtrack, because I listened to the soundtrack for the film Cats before I saw the film, obviously. And I was most excited about Jennifer Hudson singing Memory, because I was like, are you kidding me? Jennifer Hudson's going to fucking sing Memory? Which,
Right.
brilliant. But the problem with it is, hold on, don't get mad yet. The problem with it is that it is not the same impact listening to it as it is in the context of the musical. So her recording is perfectly fine, but it's not spectacular. It didn't go where Barbara's went, because Barbara was singing it as a standalone song for an album. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Jennifer's singing it as in context for the musical. So it's not going to have the same thing that Barbara's has. So that's why I prefer Barbara's. But I will say, when I fast forwarded through that movie and got to Jennifer Hudson's parts, which is the only reason I stopped the fast forward, was for Jennifer Hudson, because I fucking love her in general, especially as an actress. I was moved tremendously by that performance. That was a beautiful performance that she did. And in the context of the film, Memory gave me chills. But it didn't do that when I just listened to it beforehand. But when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, she got me. She got me, girl. She got that snot running out of her cat nose. I was like, oh.
Oh,
girl.
yeah, she did.
She did. She they left it in there. Like Jay had acted, snotty nose and all, and we're going to keep it in that cat footage. I was very impressed by that, because they really did do quite an amazing job at, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they kept their performances beautifully. Like, it didn't, doing the special effects on them did not diminish the performances that they gave. Do you know what I mean? Like, you saw the tears running down her fuzzy face. Like, it was impressive. It was like, how did they do that? How is that snot still coming out of her nose? Ew. But very impressive.
Yes.
Anyway,
back to
we
Little
talked
Shop
about a
of
lot
Horrors.
of movies here today.
It's true. Well, it's I don't know. Little Shop is
It's the nature of the beast.
The Beast
Yeah, that too.
called Audrey 2. But that's another thing. Like I said, with the technology that they have today, even doing Cats, it would not be as exciting to see a digital Audrey 2.
Absolutely not. They would
No.
have to do it practical again, and
Up the ante
that
somehow. Which
yeah,
I don't know how, because I think
yeah,
they've already done it. And they've done it so well that there's no point.
yeah.
Well,
They're
then
gonna
I
have
think
to
the-
wait a little bit longer for technology to advance further to have like some other like bit.
I do think it's interesting because, like, with, what was it, Dark Crystal, the movie, obviously
Mhm.
was a spectacular movie. But I do think that they went somewhere more in, like, they elevated it for the show that they do on Netflix, which I'm mad that they're not going to do more. Damn it. But,
And
I
they
really-
mixed digital and practical for
yeah, they
the,
did do
yeah.
some digital work, but that wasn't the impressive part. It was like they took that puppet work and they elevated it somehow. You know what I mean? Like they really did do something exciting with the puppet part of it, not just like, hey, we're going to put some digital shit in there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
they didn't enhance it that way. They enhanced it at that, and that was the puppet show within the puppet show that they did on Dark Crystal, the show. Do you remember
Oh.
that? Where, like, they were the puppets put on a puppet show in the show,
Yes.
and I was like, holy shit, what is happening? This is amazing.
That's super impressive.
That was spectacular. So fucking good. So yeah, elevate your puppet work, people. Let's have dinosaurs that really walk across the field.
I
Don't
mean,
just
that's
put a
also
digital
why
dinosaur in there.
well, that's why Jurassic Park holds up, you know?
It does. I was thinking about that too. I think it was during watching this when I watched it the other day. It was you keep thinking about those things, like, you know, wouldn't it be cool if they got this to work this way? You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it. Like, getting things to work the way that they should, but nobody ever really goes for it because they don't want to spend the money to do it. Like Dark Crystal, they don't want to do another season of that because it probably costs too much. But, or doing a Little Shop of Horrors now would be super expensive because you'd have to do all that puppet work and try to make it more impressive than the time that they did it before. You know? But I also like the idea of not relying on digital things for shit like that. Like Jurassic Park. They don't completely rely on digital dinosaurs. They do have practical dinosaurs there for certain things. Or Alien. Alien will always have,
Yeah.
you know, like things that are touchable, tangible.
Which is what makes Alien like so
As a-
scary.
Exactly, because it's
Yeah.
there. It's actually threatening these poor actors.
Yeah, whereas when digital stuff ages, you can see it and it's just kind of like, I feel weird.
Yeah.
But that's also like 80s horror movies, right? It's like more practical stuff anyway. And it's
Yeah.
they're also ridiculous and they know it, you know. So 80s horror movies are
I
also
just think-
like a delight
I
in
think
different ways.
There's a lot of opportunities for filmmakers to do exciting things that they just don't do. Like
Costs money.
practical puppet work, that kind of thing. But also, like Henry Selick did with Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, like him
Mhm.
doing all of that beautiful stop motion creature work for all the creatures in that. Like, that was spectacular. Like, and why isn't there more of that? Why are more people not?
Why don't
doing
we have
things
more
like that?
fantastic Mr. Foxes?
Well, that's not. Yes, obviously we want more of that, but I'm saying the combination of having a live action film with stop motion puppet work, but not in the way that you're thinking, like not like Ray Harryhausen, which obviously he did a great job and we all love his films, but
Oh, but more like Terminator. With the
Kinda.
stop motion.
Which I loved. That was it's
Yeah.
my favorite one of all of those because it was practical. It was there.
Yeah,
It was a
but
thing.
on the flip side, in Terminator, when Arnold is working on himself and he's in the mirror doing the thing, it looks like a puppet. It looks like rubber. When he's
Well,
got his self
You
exposed.
can't have it all.
It looks dated. Yeah, not everyone can be
But
Little
that's what
Shadow
I'm
Force.
saying.
Not everyone can be
That's-
Audrey too.
That's a certain time and place. I'm saying
Right.
with the modern techniques that they have, I don't know how to explain that. I'm trying to think of something that they could do where that would be logical, but I can't think of something. I mean, there's something I would like to do, but I don't want to talk about it on our podcast because I would like to save that idea for myself. Where you could blend stop motion, stylized stop motion, not this has to be super realistic stop motion. I'm saying something fantastic, let's, for an example, if they did Aladdin live action, but they wanted to stop motion the genie. Do you know what I mean? Something like that, where you're having this fantastic element that's being done by stop motion or a puppet or both, but not something like Will
It
Smith
would have
being
to-
digitally animated.
It would have to depend on the vibe or the intention of the director,
Well, of
though.
course, that's what I'm not
But
saying just
yeah.
slap a stop motion.
Right, you wouldn't
genie
be
in
able to
there.
do that for the Avengers. You know what I
No.
mean?
No,
Right.
No. That's
But it's
no.
yeah, so but what you want is also limited to just the overall vibe of films that are coming out.
But see, I think
know what I
think
mean?
maybe that's the
Because that does happen. The We Are Little Zombies had stop motion within the
True.
film.
True.
It had 8-bit stuff within the film. It had
But I don't. But that's also kind of not. Yes, that's good, and I do enjoy that. But I'm saying just more, I don't know what it is. Something because the way that things are now, everything is specifically made to look as realistic as humanly possible, and
Yeah, you're talking a Pete's Dragon situation, where instead of a cartoon dragon, it's a stop motion dragon.
yes, where I mean,
Right.
they did a pretty good version of Pete's Dragon with a digital dragon.
I didn't see that one.
I actually really liked it. They did a good job with that. But yeah, something
But
like
it's-
but
yeah.
but again, they obviously they did what worked for that particular thing. They did a realistic version of what Pete's Dragon would be like if it were real, which is fine, and I think it worked. But I'm saying, make fantasy films that are fantastical, not fantasy films that are so realistic that they have Will Smith's face on a genie. I don't know, there needs to be more of that, a playfulness to film that they don't have anymore.
I mean, it exists, just not where you're looking.
But they also, but I'm saying,
It
Ashley,
doesn't
that they're
exist
not
in the
doing what I
mainstream.
want.
Yeah,
And they
John,
need to
I
do
hear
it.
you. It's just that maybe you just don't like the content that is coming out. So if you want it to change, you got to change it. It's got to be you. People aren't going to cater to you, dog.
I know. Can I just be a producer
Be
though? I just want
the
to tell
change you
people
wanna
to
see
do
in the
the
world.
things, and so I can watch it.
That's not fair to those people.
Yes, it is.
Imagine being the equivalent of a bridezilla when it's not the way you envisioned it.
No, well, I mean, I don't know.
You're
I
like,
think-
this doesn't work. Change it.
This isn't working for me. I don't know.
I said fantastical.
I said fantastical, damn it.
This is just digital.
It's just more digital shit. It's
And they're
okay.
like, we
Okay.
need a bigger
Okay.
budget.
Almost like Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay, that one was
That's
great.
kind of an example of what I'm talking about. Like, you did something so impressive, but you used all in-camera techniques. None of that was digital. There was no digital anything in that film, which we didn't get
Yes.
to talk about on our podcast because that episode never made it to the air. But
Yeah, I was like, we recorded this, didn't we?
we did, but we didn't let people hear it. That's what I'm talking about. Like, when you can come up with something that works for the fantasy that you're doing, but you know what I mean. Well, you know what I mean because that's the example. It's right there. There's no digital anything in that movie. And that was one of the things that the studio was like pissed about when he made that film, was that he fired all the special effects people immediately. He's like, I don't want any of this. I want these to be in camera. I want it to be practical. And I know how to do it because my son has been watching Jean Cocteau films. So he already knows how to do it.
Yeah.
And then they did it.
Yeah, they did. It's a rarity though to even with older films for it to be successful.
Yeah.
You know? I know what you want and you want more of it. It's just that stuff takes a lot. It takes a lot out of the crew. It takes a lot out of the finances.
An Akira Kurosawa film with a stop motion dragon in it. That's what I want. I want something like that. Can we have that happen, please? Can somebody do that for me?
I just want the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids park back open. I want to sit on the giant ant again and pretend like I'm eating an oatmeal pie that is bigger than me.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm looking
God, how
for.
small were those kids?
I don't know, because those proportions seem like that pie had to have been way bigger, right? If that
Well,
ant
they were
was that
riding on
big.
an ant. I mean,
Yeah.
that alone is insane. You would never have seen them. Jeez.
That's right. But yeah, so let's get back to Little Shop of Horrors and
So,
how incredible it is. I liked when the dentist died. That's all. I loved Steve Martin having a laughing fit. That was the part that scared me when I first saw the movie. That was like, I was like, oh, because he's like laughing himself to death, and he's like, you wouldn't mind helping me, would you? And he's like, oh, I guess you would. And just like making jokes and just laughing until like his little, it's such, all the guest stars, all the cameo stars, I'm sorry, because in the 80s, all these people were huge. Like John Candy, Bill Murray, Steve Martin, they were like massive stars in the 80s. Not that they're not now. I just don't think that the newer generations are familiar with them.
Yeah.
But they were all, it was like they gave them the script and was like, do your thing, you know, like, and each one of them did their thing with it. And Steve Martin was Steve Martin. And
yeah, he was
Bill
good.
Murray was Bill Murray.
Well, and
you know.
Steve got to sing too. That was exciting.
That was exciting. And everyone was like a trained singer except for Rick Moranis, right? But I thought
I don't
that
know.
he
did a
held
great
up.
job.
Yeah. Because he was like a meek little guy. And yeah, and he really, I don't know. I loved Rick Moranis in the film. And I remember watching the special features and the way the director, like there's like a section of like bloopers and gag reel or whatever. And it's just, I'm pretty sure it's Frank Oz. Just watching the reel and just like commenting over it. And every time, and this happens anytime anyone is talking about Rick Moranis, every time Rick Moranis came up, he would just talk about what a lovely guy he was, what a great sport, what a genuine dude. And everyone does the same stuff about Rick Moranis because he's just a genuine guy, but it also sounds like he's died. You know, like people talk him up so much, like they're talking about like a memory of him, but he's still with us.
Well, yeah.
He's still popping in and out of film.
Is he going to be in the Ghostbusters movie?
Oh, I hope. And the alternate ending to this movie reminds me so much of Ghostbusters.
We haven't even talked about that. So there is a director's cut on the Blu-ray that has the original ending. And it is fucking spectacular.
The theatrical ending is the story in general is mostly centered around Seymour Krelborn and Audrey. And he's in love with Audrey, like whatever. And, you know, she's also in love with him, but neither one of them thinks much of themselves or thinks they're deserving enough of the other person's love. So they never act on it until like later on in the film when we discover that, you know, they just want each other and they don't need any of the other things, you know, they just whatever. And so when it comes down to showtime with the plant and the plant gets too hungry and he's like, you know what, if you're not going to feed me people, I'm going to eat your girl Audrey.
Which, by the way, Rick was going out to get him food. He didn't have to kill Audrey.
Maybe he thought that if he killed Audrey, there would be nothing standing in Rick's way. You know what I mean?
Of murdering
but
like, people?
You know, Seymour wouldn't have anything else to live for.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But like, how would you think you'd get away with it? He thought too little of Seymour. You know what I mean? Seymour was about to burn that plant to the ground.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And so, they...
Ellen Green.
Yeah. And so they, so they defeat the plant because, you know, it's too much, too big. And I love also the plant picking, like, just the whole scene of Audrey 2 reaching a little vine out, opening the cash register, pulling out a coin, going over to the phone, putting the coin in, and then dialing Audrey's number, which I don't know how they got it. Yeah. but Audrey lives across the street, so Audrey 2 is just like on the phone creeping at Audrey, like inviting her over. It's so much. Yes, love it. But yeah, so they defeat the plant. And they go and live somewhere that's green, and the whole thing that Audrey, like a whole fantasy scene that Audrey described, her and Seymour live happily ever after. In the original version and in the Broadway play, or in the off-Broadway production, Seymour and Audrey and Mr. Mushnick, they all die. And the plant like goes on. To like take over the world. So in the director's cut, or in the original recording, Audrey 2 eats Seymour and then goes off to have like more Audrey 2s, more versions of itself, and they're just like destroying the world. It's like the puff dude in Ghostbusters, like walking through like New York City. It's fantastic. And I loved the outfits of the Great Course and how it was this big like American scene as they were like singing through. It was great. But when you make a movie, you kind of have to screen the film with test audiences to see how it goes, to make sure you're not putting out an Oogie Loves level of a flop. And so some people will require, I want to say they needed a minimum of 50% with the test audience. And when they showed that ending, everything was going great. The film was exceptional up until the ending, and their overall score was like a 13% of people liked it. Because...
Yeah, well, that 13% were good. Because that ending is spectacular. Like,
It's
the technical
wonderful.
achievement alone of making that ending is worth seeing that ending. And
Yeah.
it must have been the most painful thing
It was like
to
$5
have
million.
to cut that out. Yeah, because
It,
I
it
mean,
was like a $5 million ending.
when you see that ending, you'll know what we are talking about.
Yeah,
It's probably
like
on
a
YouTube or something.
King
But
Kong. They're like on top of buildings, like swatting down helicopters
it
and
is
just
so good.
laughing. They love it. And then the
It's
Greek
so
chorus
good.
is like, "Don't feed the plants."
Oh,
it's
it's so
it's
good.
wonderful. Yeah, Frank Oz said something like, because everybody dies in the play, and so he was like, what I had to realize? I had to realize that um people, all of your cast can die at the end of a play because the cast and crew come out at the end and they take a bow and things like that. But in movies, when they're dead, they like the audience doesn't get to see them again. And
Mhm.
so they have to suffer with that loss.
Do you
So
know,
we couldn't do that.
it's funny that you say that because, and this is something that one of my favorite moments in Fellini was one of his later films, And the Ship Sails On. And I think I've mentioned this before, but obviously it's like a sinking ship situation. Like, this ship sinks and everybody's dying, and which is terrible. And then all of a sudden, like, Fellini kind of like takes you out of it. He backs his camera up to show you his set of the boat and how it's like rocking back and forth, and it's seriously impressive because it's fucking huge. And it's just, I don't know, that was always one of my favorite things that he did, because it was like, because he has dealt with life in all of its stages. Like, he dealt with death in other films, and beautifully poignant. But in this one, it just felt like the right thing for him to do, to kind of back it up and say, hey guys, I get it. This is heavy. I've just made you suffer this loss, but it's just a film. We're just making movie magic in the best way. And I always love that. And I also think he just wanted to show off his hydraulic boat thing.
That sounds about right. It sounds like a little bit more of column B than it is of column A.
No,
but like
both
work.
I think it was. No, I mean, yeah, he wanted to show it off, but I think it was. I don't know. It's just a lovely ending. That to me feels like a good Fellini ending. Like, I don't know how to explain. If you've watched a lot of Fellini films, you'll get it.
Oh,
But-
and those people are listening for sure.
Oh yeah, they are. All those Fellini fans are listening. He just has a poignant, well, like the end of Nights at Cabiria, which is one of my favorite endings, where all is lost. Like, this woman has just been fucked over so many fucking times, and you still get at the ending where all these kids are laughing and singing around her, and she smiles and looks right at the camera and smiles, and it's like you get all of it. You get that everything's horrible, but you know what? We still move on. We still have to keep going. Anyway. So yeah. Great film. Little shot.
Fantastic film.
Great show. Great
What
film.
would you rate it?
Eight toes.
It's a good score.
Yeah, and I would say 8.5 toes for the director's cut. Because I fucking love that ending.
Which is funny because when we talked about I Care a Lot, I wanted no resolution. I wanted everyone to die. Like, I wanted no.
You didn't
Yeah,
want
I
her to
didn't.
die.
Yeah, I didn't want her to die because I didn't want there to be a resolution to this madness. But here you are wanting no resolution to this madness.
There is resolution. The world ended because Audrey took over. That's an ending.
Right. And in I Care a Lot, she would have just taken over the world, and that's
Her
it.
company still did, dear. Don't worry.
No.
That company did not end because she died.
No, but you got a sense of relief when she died.
No, I got a sense of that bitch.
I want you to leave
How?
troubled. I want you to leave troubled because bad people just get away with things. Like Audrey too.
But in this case, you're happy about the happy ending. I mean, the happy ending was fine too. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I gave it 8 toes.
I would give this movie a 10 out of 10. I have no problems with this film whatsoever. It brings me joy anytime I watch it. It's still as good as the first time I watched it, maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah, I
because
think I think
more
every time I
knowledge.
see it, I like it more. To be
Yeah.
honest,
It's like
that
yeah.
you're just looking for wires or something. Where are they? What's happening?
It's so good. I'll send you a clip of like the people. There's
Yes,
like a
please.
clip somewhere of people like operating it. It's just
Post
like
it on
insane.
something. Can we post that on something? How can
Yeah,
we
we
post
can
a
absolutely
video
post
on
it.
our Instagrams? We should figure that
Well,
out.
yeah, we can discuss
sounds
that after
Technological.
we record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So let's
What would you recommend?
sorry. Don't recommend that.
Oh,
I recommend a film, and I cannot remember what it's called now. I mentioned it to you, and I thought we should do a double feature of both of these films, Little Shop, and I want to say, oh shit, I just watched it. I told you to watch it. I want to say maybe it's called Little Adam, or something to that effect.
I don't remember you talking
Damn
about
it.
this.
Hold on. You recommend something while I look it up.
So for Little Shop of Horrors, I would recommend Reefer Madness the movie musical, which is another movie we've discussed, as well as Beetlejuice. I think.
Oh,
I think Beetlejuice is another
a good
movie
one,
that doesn't take itself super seriously, but still does, and still has a lot of practical work within it. Not a musical the way Reefer Madness is and Little Shop is, but still pretty friggin' good. Which we've also done an episode on that as well. So watch those and check those episodes out, because I also remember liking those episodes.
Damn it, what is that film called?
What's it about?
Okay, well,
John,
it's
just tell me
about-
what it's about.
it is about a woman who works at a lab that they develop a plant that makes people feel happy. Like it emits something into the atmosphere that causes them to be happy. And obviously things go horribly wrong. And the plants are trying to take over. But it's
You're talking about Little Joe?
Is that what it's called?
Hold on.
Little
With the cover is like teal, like a tealish green.
Yep, Little Joe.
Red
Oh my
and-
god, it has my freaking sexy actor in it. How did I not remember that? It has
Yeah, you're
Ben
talking about Little Joe.
Whishaw in it. Oh my god, he's so sexy. How did I
John
not remember
recommends
that?
Little Joe.
It's called Little Joe. It is absolutely fantastic. Did you watch it?
No,
God
I
damn
did
it.
not.
It's spectacular. It's similar, you know what I mean? Like, obviously it's plants trying to run the world like Beyonce. And beautifully photographed, absolutely spectacular acting and just direction. Everything about it was amazing. The lighting, the sets, the costumes, everything about it was amazing. It's a gorgeous work of art. And I highly recommend it, obviously.
You can find us at One Foot Podcast on anything and everything except for Facebook, which is One Foot on the Ground. We are on Twitter. Instagram is probably where we post things the most. And if you have any questions, concerns, comments, recommendations, onefoot@gmail.com. There's a
Do it.
onefootpodcast@gmail.com. It's onefootpodcast@gmail.com.
Dads.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Subscribe, rate, review. Do all the things.
Yeah,
in
do all
show
the
of support.
podcasty things that you do.
Yeah.
And
if you dig
also,
us,
thank
dig
you for
us.
listening to us, because I think people like our show. And I'm happy
Yeah.
about it.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.